Well, welcome everyone who is tuning in to the Janelle King Show. I am Janelle King, and this is Extra 106.3. And this is where we discuss kitchen table topics that are typically banned from family gatherings, but are absolutely necessary in order to have a strong republic. And you are tuning in to a series that I started called Candid Conversations. And I started this because I wanted to ensure that we were having clear discussions with candidates, particularly local candidates, because local elections is what matters. And some of the stuff that we're going to talk about in this interview, you're going to understand exactly why it is important to know who you're voting for and who you're electing as it relates to your local races. That being said, I want you to welcome my friend, Kay Morgan. Hi, Kay.
Hi, how's everyone?
Now, Kay Morgan is running for county commissioner, and this seat is in Cobb County. And she will be taking on the current incumbent, Lisa Cupid, which we will get into all of that and some of the stuff that she's done and why I think that Kay is a better option. And I very rarely do that because I try to be as neutral as possible, but I have to speak up when it comes to this particular race. And you'll see why as we continue on in this discussion. Right. That being said, Kay, thank you. Thank you for joining the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And, I wanted to comment, you are very right. Most people don't realize local politicians are the ones that make the most difference in their day-to-day lives. The national politicians get all the attention and all the money, but it's the local ones that really affect your everyday life. So thank you for mentioning that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, you're so welcome. And we're going to continue to drill that in and throughout this interview because that's really, really important. All right, let's start with some background because I know you a little bit, but our audience doesn't. And I think I want them to get to know you. So tell us who you are, where you're from, and why are you running?
Well, who I am. I am a lifelong resident of Georgia. I was born in Decatur, Georgia, and raised there. My daddy worked in a cotton mill, and we had a little 2-bedroom house over in Decatur, which I still own, although now it's a 5-bedroom. We added on as time went over. But it was an idyllic childhood. There was a horse pasture across the street. There was a creek running down next door, and it was just ideal. Loved every minute of it. We drove through Marietta after my husband and I were married, and we hit the square. Okay, fell in love. Reminded me of the Decatur Square of old, and we fell in love. We've been here over 40 years. We haven't left ever since that drive-through. So, but I was a former banker.
Home for you.
This is home. This is where I've raised my kids, and I love it here. This is where our friends are. That's where our family is. We just love it here. We're so entrenched in the community. We're very involved in the community. Obviously, very involved. I'm a member of Kiwanis Club of Marietta, which is a huge concern. I don't know if you've seen the flags that are everywhere around Marietta. Okay, that's my club that does that. So we're very involved. We support kids in the community. We fundraise and do a lot of things in the community with kids. And my husband is chair of the Aviation History and Technology Center. And we've both been involved in a lot of nonprofits over the years. We've done youth work. We've done center.
Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion.
Family resources, most ministries. Pretty much, we're trying to learn how to sit on our hands and say no sometimes, but it gets kind of hard when it's a really good cause. So,
yes. Oh my God, it's the hardest thing to do.
And that's pretty much why I'm running. I tried to sit on my hands as long as I could. I thought somebody else can step up. Oh, somebody else. There's going to be another fiscally conservative person that's going to take the reins, and I'm going to support them and help them run with it. Well, no one did. Yeah. And I thought, well, why not me?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the community. I'm just going to put myself out there, see what happens. And I've gotten just so much support. It has been so heartwarming and satisfying to see just how much support I've gotten. So I'm really excited about it.
There's a lot of things, like I said, we're going to talk about as we dive into your platform. There's a lot of stuff going on in Cobb County. And it's interesting because a lot of it has to do with economic issues. And
Absolutely.
I think that's something that we all can connect on. It doesn't matter where you stand on the political aisle, what
really
your race, gender, any of that, right?
No, it doesn't matter.
In your particular race, you are running against Lisa Cupid. And to address the elephant in the room, she is a Black woman. She's in the Cobb County Chair. She is someone who is taking full advantage of the race side of things. And oftentimes what I've noticed is that voters get caught up in the optics of things, or they get caught up in the symbolism, and they often assume that translates into what's best for me. But as a result of that, we don't hold people accountable. We allow things to slide. We don't understand that there are decisions being made that's affecting you negatively. And while that's affecting you, you're also getting your symbolism, but you're also getting higher taxes and some other stuff too. So that's why I really want to dive into your platform, because what I want people to see is, particularly those who are supporting Lisa because she is a Black woman, or supporting her because she's a Democrat, and they happen to identify politically. I want you to see that on a local level, none of that really matters. What really matters is these core issues. So let's start with a number one core issue, which is finances in the economy. Let's talk about the mobility special purpose local option sales tax, or the
I'd love to.
Can you elaborate on what this tax is, or just give us some information on it, and then also touch on that 30-year duration that you are not happy with?
Not happy with it. Okay. Yes, the M-SPLOST, as you said, is for mobility. Completely different from a T-SPLOST, which is for transportation, or the E-SPLOST, which is for education. Those are both very short term. They're 5-6 years at the most. So if you're not doing a good job with the money you're collecting, you come back to the polls and we say, no, thank you. You're not getting your money until you straighten up and get the projects done. Now, the M-SPLOST, they're allowed to have that go out 30 years. 30 years. That means,
what does that mean?
1% more tax on everything you buy in Cobb County. Everything.
30 years.
Every year. It's projected to collect $11 billion from taxpayers. That's a lot of money. It's about $550 per family per year, which doesn't sound like a whole lot. Okay.
No, it doesn't. But
think about it. What if your car breaks down and you're going month to month already, or you get sick and you have to miss some work without pay? That could make every difference. I mean, we're talking the single mom buying diapers. We're talking the elderly splitting their pills, just trying to stretch them and make them work. There's just so many implications it can have. Meanwhile, this money has no real oversight. $4 billion is tagged. It's got to be infrastructure. It's got to be bus stations, bus lanes, buses, billions for buses. The other $7 billion, they call it flexible. And at some point, it could roll back into the general fund. From what I understand, after researching the M-SPLOST legislation in Georgia, it could potentially roll back for other pet projects. There are some wonderful things in it, trails, but a transportation SPLOST would cover that also. So what they're trying to do basically is bring in more and more and more buses. These are gas-powered buses. They want to build bus lanes, bus stations. They say it's going to provide opportunity. Well, here's what it's going to provide: more congestion. The first 5 years, we're going to see nothing. It's going to be all planning and land acquisition and all that. So for 5 years, we're going to be paying this extra money to not see anything. And then they're supposed to start, building roads. But think about, I don't know if you've ever heard of the California bullet train. It was going to be a $10 billion project about 20 years ago. That was funded. A few years later, it still went off the ground. So Obama gave him another $3 billion. Trump refused to give him money. Biden gave him another $3 billion. Well, now there's 5 miles built in the middle of the desert, and the project cost is up to $100 billion. Oh
my God.
That's my fear, that we give them 30 years to diddle around with our money, that we're not going to really see anything for it. And besides, a majority of the traffic coming through Cobb is coming through Cobb. They're coming from Cherokee. They're coming from Paulding. They're not going to park their car, get on a bus, go downtown, increase their commute by who knows how long. Sure, if we were dense like New York City or Chicago, the transit system would probably work really well because there'd be enough bus stops and enough people to ride it. But even as I went down to the Atlanta Regional Commission at their meeting where they had to approve it to go on the ballot, they didn't endorse it. It's just, it meant that they met all the legal requirements to go on the ballot. They were scaling back their transit system. They were literally taking one of their express routes and cutting it for about 50 routes to 8 because they only had 39 riders.
Right.
And at the same time, transportation in Cobb, our ridership is down 67% since 2013. And it keeps trending down. In every big city across the nation, it trends down, trends down, trends down. That's telling me that this type of system isn't the solution to our mobility. We need to sit down there and find one that is right for our particular situation.
So basically what I'm hearing is that this is a tax that everyone is going to have to pay for 30 years, and it's for projects to come that will increase transportation options in Cobb County. And these are options that we don't necessarily need because there's not as many riders that will fulfill that request. So why are we paying this additional tax for 30 years? Got it.
Well, it's someone's dream to have this in place. So it's basically a pet project. And I understand that it's a perceived need in Cobb. But every single year, transportation is changing. If we spend billions of dollars on buses, we're stuck. That's it. It's hard.
Let's talk about the micro transit system that the mayors, the city, I think the Cobb city mayors have come together. Tell us about that.
Oh, that I think is just a lovely idea. I love it. The mayors came together and they proposed different micro transit zones just within areas of need. And that's the kind of thing where it's like an Uber. You call up or you use the app to order one, and it's a door-to-door. It's a curb-to-curb system. It's not or even it can be a curb-to-transit station system, which, we already have Cobb Link, which connects to Marietta. So if that was your desire to begin with, this would work really well for you. The cost would be very, very low per rider. It would be smaller vehicles, more like, little small passenger vans. And they'd be nimble, flexible. I mean, basically, a bus can go in a neighborhood into a cul-de-sac. But if you're elderly or disabled or have some sort of disability, you can't get to a bus stop up at the corner.
Right.
But now, microtransit, you could call it up and it's curb to curb. So you could do that. And it's just a very practical, a lot less pollution generating than some giant empty buses rolling across our streets.
And if I'm hearing this correctly, would this also mean that you would probably privatize it? So now we're talking about increasing business participation and just put out a bid for a company to privatize it? Is that how that would work?
Absolutely. It would be a county service, but by privatizing it, it'd be like the parking decks. All of a sudden they're making money instead of draining our coffers.
Right.
That's my opinion.
It won't take 30 years to do that.
And you know what? If transportation changes and all of a sudden autonomous driving vehicles are safe and all the rage, let's come up with a new idea. Let's keep up with technology as technology is proposed and implemented. But by building dedicated bus lanes, rail stations, all of this, you're stuck. Once that infrastructure and once all these billions of buses are with us, you're stuck. You can't then flip around and be flexible and get something that really works. So Cobb Link has proven that the bus system in Cobb doesn't work feasibly. $27 million to supplement it last year with very little ridership, constantly decreasing ridership. So my opinion is it's a really bad idea. And my grandson was born this year. He'll be 30 years old and still paying this tax.
Oh,
that doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right to me. So.
No, that doesn't. Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion. Let me ask you about this. So when it comes to, while we're staying in the same vein of fees and taxes, you propose that the stormwater fee is essentially a tax in disguise. Let's talk about the stormwater fee. What's happening around stormwater in Cobb County?
Basically, the infrastructure is aging. It does need attention. And of course, as we grow and get more impermeable surfaces with shopping centers, driveways, roads, all that kind of thing, there's going to be more runoff. And we know that. But for the last several years, the system isn't really keeping up with the needs of the stormwater. Basically, with the county draining off the profit from the water department, mind you, we pay our water bills each and every month. There's already a portion of that that should be going to stormwater, but it's not. Last year, $15 million was drained off of the profits of the water department to balance out the general fund budget. If that's not a tax, if the general fund budget is based upon a tax base, and you're taking money that we're paying as taxpayers for our water and putting it into the general fund, isn't that really a tax? It's really a tax. So until that stops, I don't want to hear anything about any new fee for stormwater. And it would be a huge burden on businesses. Think about it. All of these businesses, the shopping malls, the churches, the schools, a lot of impermeable surfaces going on there. And they would be taxed based on that proportionate of the impermeable surface. But they've already, upon building and getting the permits for building, they've already done stormwater remediation within that building process, sometimes to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially if they've had to give up land to install a retention pond. Or, you know, it's real pretty to see all those medians inside parking lots with the trees and grass.
Yeah.
It's not cost efficient, but they have to have that so that it can collect the stormwater. It helps remediate the stormwater runoff. So they're already doing that, and now they're going to be taxed on the rain falling from the sky, which we have no control over. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I totally agree with what you're saying, particularly when it comes to stormwater. I think where we have challenges is that a lot of times I don't think people understand how this connects to their finances, right? So you explain how this is how people are going to actually see either an increase or a decrease should they elect you. But anyway, as it relates to this, like, how do you connect this directly to the voter?
Okay, you have to understand they have a pretty open-ended idea of impermeable surfaces. They haven't really defined it for us.
What are impermeable surfaces?
You're talking roads, driveways, roofs, roof lines, all of that. And they're saying decks, which most decks are not. Patios, if you have like a nice rock patio back in your driveway, backyard, all of that's going to count. And they're going to determine that by using flyovers. So is it going to be accurate? Probably not. And
explain flyovers.
Okay, they're going to take either drones or planes, is their plan from what I understand, and fly over the county to determine how much impervious surfaces you have based on what they see from there.
Okay. So, and then that then translates into a tax?
Into a tax. They've got a schedule that you can't actually calculate it yet. They were supposed to have the calculator up for it online in June, then July. And now actually it's still not up. And I know the commission the other evening tabled the entire stormwater for now. I said, if they'll bring it back, I understand it's not going to come back this year as an election year. Let's just say it's not going to reappear during an election year.
So to be clear,
you really you can't calculate yet what that cost will be. So we're supposed to implement this and not even know what it's going to cost us.
So to be clear, what you're saying is that the county is going to use either a drone or some type of device to fly over everyone's home. If you have a patio of some sort, they're going to tally it up and say, we have X number of patios or X number of whatever other surfaces that constitute underneath this. And then they're going to determine how to create a tax to cover that. Why is this necessary?
Because they're still draining money off the water department each and every year. They have not been addressing the stormwater runoff issue. They've just been taking that money and using it for the general fund. Well, I say let's tighten our belt instead. If you're asking me to tighten my belt and pay for rain that falls from the sky, let's tighten the county belt. We need to dig through there and find ways to cut expenses. And there's room in there. There's always room. I've been in the corporate world long enough to know that departments pad their budgets because they're afraid of not getting what they need if they come back for it. So I would love to work with Jackie McMorris. She's dynamite. She's a dynamite city manager. And I think she has could do a lot of great things to help me and the commission find ways to cut that budget.
So basically, because and I'm doing this because I want people to be educated on these local issues. Because what normally happens is you get a bill in the mail, it shows up, and you just pay it, or you say, "Oh, I can't pay it," but you don't know why it's there, how it got there, how that amount, was actually derived to that amount. And I want people to understand that, because the more you understand that, the more involved I believe you'll be as a voter when it comes to deciding who represents you on these local, particularly these county boards. So let's continue talking about taxes. What are some strategies that you would like to implement while working with the county manager that will help make the tax dollars go further and make the county more efficient?
We could cut out the millions of dollars, $17 million of outside consultants that were hired last year. That's a start.
What are they hired for?
We have county staff, excellent county staff, that very talented, very knowledgeable. Some of them have been for years. But the current commission chair has decided that she needs outside political consultants, outside consultants for just about every project. And she's paying them. The county is paying them to do this. And that's not necessary. Meanwhile, it's disheartening our staff. They're leaving to the tune of like 100 people last year, with taking all that wealth of knowledge and experience with them to another county where they're going to feel more valued. Well, we need to stop that. Let's use our county resources to the max. Let's don't bring in another consultant to sit there next to our county employees and dictate what to do. They don't live here. They don't know the county. They've not been working here a long time. Let's reestablish those tight-knit relationships with our county employees, among our county citizenry. Let's streamline it, get it done. We can get the job done internally. Let's don't hire out people outside the county.
I have an invested interest in Cobb County personally, because while my husband, we live in Fulton, our business is in Cobb. And so whenever we're talking about taxes and things like that, everything you see as it relates to businesses, are businesses being hit harder than normal in this county, or what do you see?
Of course. I mean, just the permitting process. The fees keep going up a little, up a little, up a little. You don't notice it year over year, but then you take a step back and look 5 years, and you're like, wow, I only paid this much 5 years ago for my license. Now it's this much. Yet we can't keep hammering businesses.
Right.
They're the employee. They're the employers in the county. They're what's helping us create wealth. If employers start leaving the county, companies start leaving the county, what are we going to do? We're not going to have jobs for our citizens. We have to encourage businesses to stay here. And by doing that, we need to make it streamlined and easy for them. We need to keep the 1% sales tax in SPLOST. It will affect businesses greatly, especially businesses like jewelers, appliance salespeople, car salespeople. I mean, you're going to think twice with that extra couple $100 tacked onto everything, just that 1% on top of it. You're going to think twice and maybe go for the cheaper model, or I'm just going to skip that purchase this year, because we're already suffering with the economy as it is now. The prices are just through the roof. I mean, I never thought in my lifetime I would see prices like this, but here it is again. Because I know
it's out of control.
I thought the 70s were the peak. I thought Jimmy Carter was the peak of inflation. I was wrong.
Unbelievable. I don't understand how people are surviving. I mean, when you go to the grocery store and like a whole chicken is like $25,
right?
That's insane. And and here's a little tidbit for those who are veterans. President Trump passed a law under his tenure where if you're a veteran, you can now go to the commissary. So as long as you have your veteran ID, go to the commissary and get you some food because it's so much cheaper.
Yes, please do. Please do. Please
do it. Utilize it. Okay. All veterans.
All veterans should use. Yes.
Now, you do have to update your ID because they have a new scanner now. So they scan the ID. But update your ID and please go and use that. So that's all veterans.
Good.
Okay, so let's talk about this relationship between the county and local cities and this service delivery agreement, right?
Oh, yes.
Can you explain the importance of a service delivery agreement? But before that, tell people what that is.
Okay. Well, it's actually in Georgia statute that a county which encompasses cities inside of it, if those cities are providing services such as fire, police, trash, any of those services that the county also provides, to keep from double taxing people. For instance, if you're paying Acworth City taxes, you're paying for their police force and fire department. Well, if you're also paying for the police force and fire department in Cobb County, but the Cobb County is not serving you, Acworth is, you're paying for something you're not getting the benefit of. So basically the service delivery, yes. Anyway, you'll have to cut that out. I'm so sorry. But this agreement allows the county and the cities to calculate a certain percentage of the county revenues to be given back to the cities, to basically even that out and not have their citizens be double taxed. And this money has been used by the cities to, build infrastructure, to repair roads, do all kinds of wonderful things that they otherwise wouldn't have access to because the revenue that should be coming back to the city from the citizens is going to be staying in the county. The argument right now is that the current chairman hired a consultant that found that the county owes the cities zero. Yes, zero. But if they cannot they're in mediation right now. Mediation is supposed to start next week.
Okay.
All 5 mayors have signed on board. They've sent a letter. Wow. All 5 mayors are on board. It's a pretty hot topic among the mayors.
That's interesting. So the mayors are not happy with the county.
No, they've all come together and they have forced mediation basically. If mediation doesn't work, because if they can't come to an agreement by I think it's the end of August, then they probably won't have time to put it in place by the deadline of October 1st for the state. Then we start losing state funds. And that's unacceptable. That's just plain unacceptable. But the city said, hey, I know you're proposing zero, but that's not what it's supposed to be. We're not going to agree to that. They actually wanted it to increase more this year because the cost of fire and water and fire and police has gone up. So it's even more uneven now. They needed to negotiate it to be a higher percentage. But yeah, the consultant said, no, you don't owe them anything.
So that goes back to
it would be in Georgia. Yeah, I don't think it'd be in Georgia statute if that were true.
So I'm assuming that consultant is part of the $17 million that she's.
Oh no, that's this year. I'm talking last year. That's the new one. It just keeps going.
That's last year. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Going, yeah.
So it's just more consultants.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So the fact that all 5 mayors are in agreement on this and
they are
seeing what the county is doing, it's a huge red flag. I don't understand why it's not being talked about more, because that's a major issue. I mean, there has to be a better working relationship between cities and counties going forward. What are your thoughts on okay, so what are your thoughts on how to rectify that? So if you got into that seat, how would you ensure that the cities, that the mayors get what they need? What would you implement?
I would implement, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let's talk through this as a team. Let's work through this as a team. Give me some numbers. Let's work with some numbers. Let's see what's fair and equitable and what's transparent. Do it all in a very transparent manner.
Yeah.
No behind the doors meetings or anything, or no consultants saying this and that. No, we need to sit down and work as a team, because basically It's all of Cobb County. Just because they have a separate city, separate mayor, whatever, it's still Cobb County.
Right.
And we need to work toward the benefit of all Cobb County citizens, not North Cobb, not South Cobb, not East Cobb, all Cobb County citizens. That's what it needs to benefit. Government is there to serve all the citizens. And we need to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
Listen to the mayors. The mayors are the spokespeople for their citizens. They've been duly elected as the spokespeople. So let's listen to them.
I totally agree. Staying in the same vein of the economy and finances and things of that nature, can you discuss your pledge to roll back the millage rate and how it would impact Cobb County residents? But let's start with explaining what a millage rate is.
Right. That's basically the percentage that they're going to take based upon the value of your home. And as we know, home values have gone through the roof and are continuing to grow. I don't see them coming down anytime soon. There's just not enough supply for the current demand. We need about 17 million more houses to meet that demand. It's going to take a while to catch up with that, a long while. So as your house continues to be reappraised, that millage rate is the percentage that's applied to your home value. That's what determines your taxes, the county portion of your taxes. The largest majority of your taxes are the school taxes, and they have their own millage rate. And that's basically the biggest chunk. Traditionally, the county commission, when the school taxes have gone up, have rolled back their millage rate a certain percentage to compensate for the huge increase in taxes. It was not done last year at all. It's not been done. Even though we've had, think of how much more value people have in their houses right now because of the way it's gone up exponentially. So that means the revenues are rolling in. The county doesn't have a revenue problem right now with all the new businesses and the valuation homes. What they have is a spending problem. It's not a revenue problem. It's a spending problem. And we need to rein that back in, find ways to cut that millage rate, which would then ease a lot of the pain of the school tax going up. We need the school taxes. We can't let our schools slip. That's basically what brings businesses into our county and citizens into our county. The first thing, I'm a realtor, the first thing people ask are, how are the schools? I send them straight to that website. Go research it yourself. You'll see we have top schools. Yeah.
So now shifting a little bit, but staying in your platform. And like, mind you guys, this is all stuff that I'm pulling from Kay's website, which we will give to you.
Right.
He's going to announce it, but I'll also have it in the description box if you are watching on YouTube. So don't worry about that. However, all of this is a part of her platform, right? And I'm not even giving you all of it, okay? So you got to go to her website. However, let's talk about home rule.
Oh gosh, I was so
please, in the most simplistic way, for those who do not live in Cobb County, please explain what home rule is and what.
Okay. This is really, you're not going to believe me because it sounds more like a fairy tale. So the Georgia legislature, by Georgia Constitution, they are the ones tasked with drawing the county district lines for the district commissioners. That is their task. That is what they do. They drew the lines this last legislative session. Well, the current commission majority didn't like those lines. And I understand they did draw one of the Democratic commissioners out of her district. There's some controversy there on whether she could still serve to the end of her term, which my interpretation is that, yes, she could serve to the end of her term. But they didn't like those lines, so they redrew their own.
Just the county created their own lines?
They drew their own lines. Like, nope, we don't like yours. We're going to draw our own for District 2. So now, no one can qualify in that district properly because they're not sure which one to qualify in. So we've got some candidates trying to qualify under the legal state lines and the others trying to qualify under the county lines, which the Democratic Party has said you may only qualify. Oh, no, excuse me. The Board of Elections is using the county map to qualify candidates. There's been a lawsuit, it's still in courts, where one candidate is challenging not being able to qualify under the state constitutionally drawn lines, but it's still in the courts. It's still in the Cobb County Supreme Court, Superior Court. But there was also a lawsuit in the Superior Court of Georgia. Some folks brought it against this particular action of the commission. The Supreme Court judges couldn't find a way to rule in light of the constitutional map, but they pretty much, if you read the transcripts, they're like, hey, bring me somebody with proper standing because we want to rule on this because this is not right. They pretty much directed them, find me somebody with standing. So there's other lawsuits I expect to come up. We're waiting to see the result of the one in the Superior Court. That could settle it. I don't know. I suspect the can will be kicked down the road again, and we'll still be in limbo. We're not sure what's going to happen. But basically, again, wastefulness. The county is spending untold number of dollars defending their lines. They've already had to defend their lines, and one court ruled no, they're unconstitutional. So then they took it on and on and on, and they're still defending.
So basically what you're telling me is that if I am a resident or a business owner in Cobb County, a portion of the tax dollars that I'm paying into that county is going towards litigation so that they can decide that they want to redraw their own lines because they don't like what redistricting did. Although every other 158 counties in this state has to follow the state law. But Cobb has decided they don't want to, so they're going to break the law and then create their own. And I got to pay for it.
That's right. We've got to pay for the defense of it. Absolutely. It was the paper loves it. The Marietta Daily Journal loves to call it a novel legal gambit. I call it just ridiculousness.
I call it selfishness.
Selfishness, yes. That is a very, very, that takes a lot of hubris to think that you know better than the state. A lot of hubris.
Arrogance, right? And you know what? And even if you don't agree with what the state does, you have to still abide by the law. And every other, all the 158 counties are doing it. So you have to just figure it out. And you do have a chance, you can challenge. But if you challenge and it's already determined that what you've done is unconstitutional, why continue to challenge? I think that's the bigger issue, right? Like, why continue to challenge when it's already been deemed unconstitutional? And then you create this confusion during election time.
Very much so.
I'm assuming you have people who qualify under home rule, you have people who qualify under the state's rule.
Right. Well, the Elections Board in Cobb is not allowing qualification under the state's rule. So you have to use, to qualify, you have to use the home rule map. That's the one the Elections Board has been directed to use.
For the county. So how does that work with the Secretary of State? Like, doesn't the state say, I'm overruling you and saying, no, they can be on the ballot under our map? Or
the problem is the state has to pretty much prove that the home rule law does not apply to the situation. It does apply to some certain situations where I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but every once in a while you can institute home rule if it is not to defy the Constitution, though. Definitely not to defy the Constitution. Sorry, that was my daughter calling. I have on Do Not Disturb. I don't know why that happened. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the camera come back on and then.
Okay. All right. Am I good?
No, it's still. Let's see. Nope, not yet. Okay, there you go. Yep, you're back.
Sorry about that. I don't know why.
That's fine. We'll just edit it.
Oh, it's not. Do Not Disturb on my iPad. Had to flip there. Okay, but yeah, the first has to be determined whether the home rule map is actually constitutional. And that's what they're trying to disprove. And we all know it's not constitutional, but they're just going to drag this out. I think at this point, it's just a point of pride.
Yeah. It seems that way. And it seems like they want to hold on to their seat or maintain the majority in their districts because sometimes when you redistrict, you get a mixed bag. And now you have to actually campaign versus just assuming you're going to automatically win.
Right.
And that to me, that's a dictatorship. You know, it's like you don't get to come in and just take over. And now your rules are the rules, and we're not going to abide by the states.
It's disenfranchising the voters in those districts. They're completely disenfranchised by this action. So it needs to end.
Let me ask you this. What would you say are if you had to pick one priority that's your number one priority on day one, I'm going in with this on my mind. What is it for this county?
Wow, that's a good question. I have so many. It's going to be difficult.
Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion.
I think I would like to just get together, a lot of the county staff, the commission. Let's sit down and figure out how we can work together. Because right now, nobody's working together. It's just as contentious as it can be. All the infighting and all of the just absolute squabbling has got to stop. We need to learn how to get together for the good of Cobb County. Let's move together for the good of Cobb County, not for your pet project, not for this little thing over here, because I don't like her, I don't like him. No, Cobb County, it's where we live. It's where we work. It's where most of us play. We need to make sure we're moving forward as a county to the benefit of the county. So let's just stop squabbling. We can agree to disagree. Let's get a strategy to agree to disagree and move forward with what's best. So
there's always this concern that whenever like we stated before, Lisa is a Black woman. And there's always this concern that when you unseat someone, if you're a white woman and you unseat this Black woman, that the Black community is not going to be represented. How do you answer that? And I'm saying it like this because I've heard it so many times, but it's a little exhausting because it's virtually impossible for that to be the case because you're not looking at every person when you're making decisions. So
no, absolutely
how do you reconcile this tension around the race issue?
Can we stop having the tension? Can we just look at me as a person who is invested in this community and has a heart for it and wants to see it move forward and not backward, who wants to see everyone thrive, wants to keep everybody safe? I mean, we want to feel safe. We want to prosper. Basically, that's what we want for ourselves. That's what we want for our children. So that's what we need the county to be focusing on, is letting us be safe and prosper. And that's going to take working together. And I hate to say getting along. That sounds kind of cheesy, but we need to work together to get this. And I'm not doing this for myself. Believe me, this is not a selfish act on my part. I never aspired to political office myself. One time thought about running for school board, but I decided it wasn't the right time. But I just, I have such a passion for this county and for the people in it. I don't really care what color you are or what religion you are. It does. That makes no impact whatsoever. You're a human being. We're all a community of Cobb Countyans. Basically, we're all Cobb County. We're all Georgians. We're all American citizens. Let's just see each other like that. I mean, I love people. I'm always out and about, meeting people constantly. And I really don't say, hey, isn't that a cool Black guy? Isn't that a cool white one? I mean, that's just not how I look at people. I just say, oh my gosh, I love her smile. Or, wow, nice outfit. Or, oh my gosh, they're so charming and engaging. I want to get to know them better. That's how I like to look at people. It's like, do I want to get to know you better?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, it's good versus evil, right? And I feel like, if the person that's in office who looks like you or doesn't look like you, but if you happen to be someone who is a minority and the person in office is a minority, and they're making decisions that's impacting you negatively, then you need to be voted out regardless of their race. But you need to pay attention to that. As you're knocking on doors and you're talking to people in your district, do you feel like they have a good grasp of what's happening on the county level as it relates to their taxes and how they're being impacted? Or do you think that they're kind of being wooed by whatever they're being told, and they just don't see it?
Right. I mean, pretty shiny thing. You know the old saying, give me free stuff, I'll vote for you. Well, for instance, the lovely gala she had for State of the County rather. She spent $25,000 to entertain about 200 people. I was able to snag a ticket really quickly, with this lavish buffet of prime rib and crab cakes and all kinds of, it was at the Galleria Center, and it was just over the top. I'm sitting there going, I'm paying for this. I just realized all of Cobb County is paying for my prime rib. Thanks, Cobb. Appreciate But yeah, it's just things like that. So find a candidate that thinks like you. They don't have to look like you.
Right.
They need to think like you.
Right.
Are you
I don't think
struggling?
I don't think people understand that whenever money is spent with the county, that's money that's not being spent somewhere else. That's money that they have to make up for, which means they have to get it from you. Oftentimes I'll hear people say, man, can you have better food? Can y'all have better food? Can we have more food? And I'm like, it depends on who's paying for it.
Exactly.
Like, am I going to pay for it? Are you paying for it?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. People want things, but they don't pay for it necessarily. But, and I don't mind paying taxes. It's the American way. I totally believe in the tax system. Totally do. But it needs to be responsibly administered. We have to have it responsibly administered, not just squandered away on pet projects and different things like that. We need to have it very responsibly. We're the caretakers. Yeah. Basically, the commission is the caretaker of your tax dollars. We need to be sure that our roads are repaired. We need to be sure we've got enough money to pay our police force, our fire department. I know I ran a small business for many years, and I had to pay my employees no matter what. So if I went out and squandered our income, our revenue on other things that weren't important to the business, I couldn't pay my employees. Well, that couldn't happen. Guess what I'd do? I'd lose my employees. So the county is just a big business. It's basically a big business. They need to look at their revenues, what they can spend, what they have to spend, where. Keep it at that. Let's don't just keep finding other things that any perceived needs to spend money on and then ask us for it. It's like, don't tell me, hey, I know what you need. Now I'm going to tax you to get it for you. That's not the attitude government needs to have at all. But lately, that seems to be the prevailing wisdom of the county.
It's funny, like in marriage, there tends to be a spender and a saver in marriage, right?
Always.
So
Always.
I am guilty that I am the spender, but
it's my husband. I'm not gonna. It's my husband's a spender.
He's a spender.
He's a spender.
What's hilarious about it though is, I love that Kelvin's a saver because I'm like, well, just tell me how much I can spend. So, and I know we're good, right? But that being said, I feel like we have to be careful that we don't have a spender representing us.
Correct.
Because when that happens, if your budget's not in place in your own personal life, and I'm not saying that that's the case for those who don't know, but I will say that. But if you are a spender and you just feel like I can throw money at it, or I'll just hire someone over here and make it up over here, and tax dollars going to keep coming in, it's a revolving door. That's a problem. Because the goal is to reduce taxes, not to increase taxes, but you're going to have to increase it if you're spending.
Service is high, taxes low. That should be the goal of every government, and that's how I believe in it. And no, I am. You can ask any of my friends. I'm very frugal. I live within my means.
Yeah.
My husband and I have done well, so we do have some luxuries in our life, not huge ones, but we earn everything that we can afford. We earn what we buy, every penny of it. We don't go out and run up credit card debt. We don't, spend trying to impress other people. We cut our own grass, for heaven's sakes. Yeah. I clean my own house, right? Because I was taught by my daddy. My daddy was raised in the Depression era, on a farm out in Alabama. Let's just say they were the other definition of poor, if they didn't raise it,
different levels of poverty,
different level. We can't even, I think, imagine today.
In
America.
Other countries.
In America, absolutely. You're right.
We've never seen it like that since.
But he experienced that, and it affected his entire life. That man was so frugal. If the dishwasher needed fixing, he fixed it. If the roof needed fixing, that man fixed it. If he needed to build an addition on the house, those two girls would stop fighting over the one bedroom they were living in together. He did it. I learned that from my dad. Sure enough, dishwasher goes out. You see me online ordering that part, figuring out what to do. It's really, my friends will make fun of me. He's like, why are you fixing that dryer? It's 20 years old. Stop, get it. I'm like, hey.
But look, that's a good sign. You want somebody representing you that knows how to save, that looks for ways to save, and wants to make sure that you have more money in your pocket and less money out for services that's already being provided.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
that being said, I would love to go deeper and deeper into your platform, but we just can't for the sake of time. However, I would like you to share how people can find you, because, and then at the end of our Would You Rather segment, because I have a really fun segment that I do, my mom's favorite segment, when I do the Would You Rather with the candidates. And after that, I'm going to have you come back and give final words. But for right now, how can people follow you and find out more about what you're talking about?
You can go straight to my website, k4cobbchair.com, and it's not a number. It's k4cobbchair.com. You can also find me on Instagram, K for Cobb Chair. You can find me on Facebook, K for Cobb Chair. There's a theme here. You're sensing the theme. Just Google K for Cobb Chair.
Search K for Cobb Chair.
Yeah, you'll find me. You'll definitely find me that way. So, and I would love to hear from you. Absolutely. There's a link on my website. I have to email me. I'd love to hear from you. You can call me. There's a number on there to call. And I will actually answer the phone. And if I don't, I'll call you back. So
and if
it's
you're
not
watching,
like somebody else is answering.
Okay. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to drop questions in the comments section, because Kay can always come back to her show and go in there and message you back. So go ahead and drop your questions in the comments section. If you want to know something, if there was something we talked about and you didn't have full clarity, all of that good stuff. Okay. I read them. I do see them. And I will make sure that I get it to Kay and get your response.
Perfect.
That being said, let's do something fun to close out. It's called Would You Rather. Now, I often say try not to respond as to why you're selecting the option you're selecting, but that's really hard for people. So you can give a short explanation, but we like to keep it a little quick. All right. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, first question. Would you rather have unlimited international first class tickets or never have to pay for food at restaurants ever again?
Never have to pay for food at restaurants again.
That's interesting.
I love my food.
I took the tickets.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I was like, they're so expensive. But okay.
Yeah, well, you're younger. You would have more time to use these tickets. So a limited time I could use these tickets. So I'll take the restaurant. I can use that the rest of my life.
I love that. All right, next question. Would you rather always have a full phone battery, or always have a full tank of gas?
Well, if I had a full phone battery, I could call for the gas. So definitely the full phone battery.
Okay. All right. Sorry, y'all. If you hear my dog, it's because she's waking up, and she normally she wakes up every day at 2:00 from her nap, and she wants to go outside. So we're in her moment right now. So you hear her in the background.
That's totally my fault. I was late. It's my fault.
I'll make sure I'll take care of her afterwards. But okay, next question. Would you rather live in a place where it's always hot, or a place where it's always cold?
Oh, always hot, hands down. I won't even go on a ski trip. I do not like the cold. I told you, I was born and raised in the South. In the winter, I hibernate around the fireplace. Hot. It's got to be hot for me. Got to be hot. Definitely.
That's funny. I was born in December, but so I kind of like the cold, but I'm not sure if I want it all around. Okay. Next question, last one. Would you rather be able to control fire or water?
Wow. Water, because the water could put the fire out.
Okay, so
water can put the fire out. So if the fire was raging, you control the water can put the fire out, right? So there you go.
Yeah, well, I think we underestimate the power of water too.
We do. Water and wind. It's a force. It's a force.
Yeah, it is a force. All right. Thank you for playing that game. I really love it. Would you rather, right? Because they're fun, and it helps people get to know you on a more personal level. So can you please conclude by sharing, and I'm going to mute because I think my dog's getting anxious, and so she might start barking. But can you please share your final thoughts? What is your message to voters as we're going into this election season?
My message would be, please get involved. I've been out there among the public telling them about my candidacy, and they're like, what's the commission do? Okay, if you don't know what your local government does, you need to get in there and find out. Get involved, get active in local politics, get active in local nonprofits, just connect with each other. And once we're connected, that's how things get done, through personal connections. Interpersonal connections are the biggest way to get things done. So that's my piece of advice.
All right, everyone. So when it's time to go to the polls with your interests in mind. Go to the polls with your pocketbook in mind. Go to the polls with your groceries in mind.
Absolutely.
Don't go to the polls with symbolism or anything else in mind. None of that matters. What matters are good ideas, and we don't care where they come from as long as they work.
Exactly. And I appreciate that. All right.
But thank you, Kay. Thank you so much for interviewing with me. This will not be the last time.
That was delightful. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with you.
So welcome. All right. Thank you all for watching. If you are watching right now on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. It's free to you, and it is awesome. It totally helps me. So please do that. And please drop a comment in the comment section if you have any questions. Also, make sure you go to Kay's website so you can see all the other things that she's going to be focusing in on, because we want to make sure we elect the right people, and we want to make sure we elect good people. So let's do it. All right. Thank you.
And we're out.